All right, guys. So thanks for being here tonight for Team Forever Strong's weekly team call. It is November 10th. And I am so excited, guys, because tonight we have our guest speaker, Meredeith Kelly. And if you guys are not friends with her or don't follow her on Facebook, you will absolutely want to make sure that you follow her because she's just an incredible, incredible coach. She's one of my good friends in the network, and she's just amazing. She's got such an awesome attitude. She's so positive. And tonight she's really going to spend her time. I really thought that this would be amazing for you guys to hear because she's someone who had a full-time career, making a, really good salary, and just truly not really seeing that this could actually be so much more than just a hobby. And so her whole call tonight is going to be about how she kind of switched gears going from, this being part-time to now her full-time career, being able to leave her full-time career that she had in the past and how she was able to make that happen. And I feel like that's where so many of us are at on this team, where we have full-time careers, making a good salary, it's that paycheck coming in consistently every week. And you kind of ask yourself, could this really be actually better and bigger than my full-time career? And so she's just living proof of it. So just a little bit of background about her. She started actively coaching back in July of 2014. She's a 6-star diamond coach. She has 9 personally sponsored coaches on her team. She was a 2015 Elite Top 200 coach, and she is also a Success Club All-Star Legend, which means that for 24 consecutive months, she has hit Success Club. And so as you can see, just another proof that the coaches who build big businesses that are able to, leave their full-time careers like she did, they're hitting Success Club month after month after month. So anyways, whenever you are ready, Meredeith, we are so excited for you. Did I say 9 diamonds?
You said 9 coaches, so
9 personally sponsored.
I have more than
diamonds.
9 people on my team, but
9 personally sponsored diamonds on her team. There we go.
Awesome.
All right, so whenever you are ready, Meredeith, we are so excited to hear from you. Thanks so much for being on with us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to be here. As we kind of said before we started recording here, it's a little bit of a weird week. I know everyone's kind of feeling the emotional roller coasters and different feelings. So I appreciate all of you guys being here and, staying the course in your business, regardless of what's going on in our crazy world. So anyways, and also just shameless plug for Beachbody too. I think everyone that I've met, at least in the network, they're good people. Everyone are, they're awesome, positive lights in the world. So if you find nothing else in this opportunity, hopefully you find some really awesome people that you can lean on during these times when things are not so positive out there. So anyways, I wanted to share with you guys my story tonight. And some of you know my story, but also want to talk to you guys about some tips on how I sort of shifted gears from the hobby mindset to the full-time mindset. And some of you guys have probably heard this if you've been on other calls I've spoken on, because this is a topic that I talk about a lot. So I talked about it actually on the Drop the Cookie call about 2 weeks ago, and then at our Super Friday locally. So I know Jesse was there. We spoke together. Yay! But was there anyone else who was at Super Friday just this past weekend? No? Okay, cool. So I won't be repeating myself too much. So Kath and Jesse, you're going to have to hear some repeat stuff. But as Kathy said, I started back in 2014 is when I actively coached. But if you want the full truth, I actually signed up as a coach in 2012. So a few months after Elizabeth Harkey did, she had reached out to myself and to my actual upline sponsor, who was one of her first coaches, Nicole O'Neill, shortly after she had signed up. And I got the email and I was like, all right, cool. You're feeling great and losing weight and stuff, but I'm still kind of thinking this is a scam. So I really wasn't into it. Like I was kind of skeptical. So I sat back for a few months and watched and finally decided like, okay, hey, Melissa, I realized like, okay, what do I have to lose? I might as well try this. Like, you know, looks like Liz is doing pretty well. But I was sort of seeing like the highlight reel a little bit, you know, and seeing that she was obviously making money. And that's kind of what drew me in initially. And I didn't really, and it was no fault of her own, but I really didn't see the work that was required from a personal standpoint and also from a business standpoint. So I signed up, and as a former athlete, I decided to pick, you know, the hardest program in the portfolio at the time, which was Insanity. And I did it for about like 10 days, and I freaking hated it, you guys. I was like, this is torture. And I was not a home workout person really before that. And I'm doing, you know, like the things in my living room, and I had concrete floors in my like apartment at the time. I was living in this modern loft. And I mean, I had shin splints after like 3 days. I was like, this is awful. And the workouts were like an hour long. I don't know has anyone done Insanity? Like the longer original one? Oh boy, like it was too much too soon. But I left out the detail that at that time I was also working in the liquor industry full time. I was doing sales for Bacardi USA. And I was drinking like 8 nights a week. So I was going out, you know, my job was basically to be in the bars and, you know, selling packages and stuff to the bar owners and the managers and stuff. And then to also be present there at night. So I was pretty much like drinking around the clock, socializing around the clock. That was my job. It was a dream job for someone who was like 24 years old, but it was also making my health like plummet into the ground. So to do that and then to wake up and do Insanity was pretty much next to impossible. Not to mention that Shakeology was like the original formula, and it wasn't really good at the time. I don't know if anyone, Kath, were you, I don't know how early you signed up, but did you have it before they reformulated the flavor?
Oh yeah, I had it when they first came out with like the original P90X, like way back in like 2007 or something, and it was horrible.
Yeah, and I mean, it's because good stuff doesn't always taste good, right? So anyways, they hadn't reformulated the flavor, so I was adding like agave nectar and peanut butter and chocolate chips and like everything into this, like to make it taste good. So like no wonder I wasn't getting results, right? And not to mention it was only 2 weeks. So anyways, my first attempt at this was a massive fail. So I chalked it up as a scam, obviously, because it wasn't my fault, and was like, okay, this is not working. This is not for me. Like, you have fun, Liz, but I'm going to get back to like going to the gym and working my job. So I pretty much took a 2-year hiatus. I never canceled my coach account fully, but I put my order on hold, and I'd get a bag here and there of Shakeology and never really drink it. But I always kind of had a pulse on what was going on. You know, I had Liz as my friend on Facebook. I had unfollowed the Drop the Cookie page, but when I first started in there, it was like maybe 20 people, and all of a sudden it was like 200. Like 2 years later, 3 years later, I was like, what happened here? Like there's all these people, they're all having success. So I really kind of was feeling kind of inspired, but I also logged into my online office and there was like nothing going on there. So I was like, you know, like, I don't really know what this is all about. So still skeptical. So fast forward to 2014, I had started a new job by the grace of God. I got out of the liquor industry and was working in technology. So I had gotten into sales with Oracle, which is a big software corporation many of you are probably familiar with. And I was working for them and had gotten a promotion actually into the field sales division. So I was going to be traveling all over the East Coast from Maine down to Virginia, visiting hospitals and healthcare customers. And I realized that in doing this, I wasn't really going to have a whole lot of time to work out or get to the gym because about 80% of the time I was going to be on the road and in hotels. So at that time, I was also in pretty bad funk mentally. It was some other stuff going on in my life, and had realized that I was putting a lot of blame on my job, a lot of blame on you know, my previous lack of relationship. I'm now in a relationship and it's great, and I've been in it for years, but I realized that it had nothing to do with any of that. It was all me. So at that time, I realized, okay, I need to do something about this, or else I'm going to lose my now awesome boyfriend. I'm going to probably put on a lot of weight and be pretty miserable again with my job. So I need to kick it into gear. So I went back and thought, okay, Liz obviously has had success. I've seen all these other coaches have success. Let me at least get my health in check. So I started doing 21-day fix. And some of these other workouts that I could take to my hotel. And long story short, I got awesome results. And that was really just me focusing on myself. I didn't want anything to do with the coaching thing. I had already tried that and failed. So I figured, you know, this is a huge success and I'm feeling really good. But one of the ways I held myself accountable was doing this on social media. And that scared the crap out of me. So I don't know how many of you guys were social media people or were not before coaching. By show of hands, who was not on social media before coaching? Okay, cool. yeah, I was like, this is the last thing I want to do. I would maybe put up a like picture once a year, but this was like not my thing. But I realized that if I was putting it out publicly that I was working on myself and working on my health, then I was going to get, called out for it if I wasn't living up to those goals or to that person that I was portraying on social media, if I was going out with my friends and not eating healthy, or if I was going out and ripping 16 shots on the weekend. I think someone was going to say something like, hey, you have 100 days of healthy going on, and what you're doing right now is not so healthy. So I realized that in publicizing my goals, that was going to make me accountable to them, whether I was getting made fun of or laughed at or whatever. I didn't care, because that's something that I needed to stay true to my end goal. So I did that for 100 days. I shared my journey on social media, just one healthy thing per day. I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't talking about Beachbody really. I was simply sharing my journey. And over the course of those 100 days, I actually ended up hitting diamond rank, which was like kind of not by accident, but I was like, all right, I know that like I can do this. I can sign people up with a discount, and then they can sign people up with a discount. And I knew how to do that. And that's really what I was teaching people to do, because it seemed like a no-brainer to sign up with a discount. So as that happened, I started to see some checks come in, like $50, $40, $14 here and there. And it was kind of cool. I was getting my shake paid for, but I really didn't see the potential and how people actually made this a business. So I sort of coasted through that year, from July to the following July of 2015. Running challenge groups simply for, selfishly for my own goals, because it helps me stay accountable. It helped me feel like I was part of something when I was on the road so often for work. I could check in and talk to my people, and it was just positive, and it gave me this fulfillment that I didn't have for my full-time job. And that's really all I saw it as. So I did this at Super Friday when I gave this talk, and I'm going to ask you guys the same thing, not to put anyone on the spot, but how many of you refer to your full-time job or your day job as your real job? Anyone? Okay. Cool. So I have done that. I used to do that a lot when I was working Oracle. I was like, well, Oracle's my real job. And then I have this like Beachbody thing on the side. And I sort of just treated it that way. Like it was like if I can do it, great. If I can't, whatever, I'm not going to stress about it. But what was happening is it was returning to me like a whatever job or a job on the side. It wasn't being taken seriously. So that's what I was getting in return. So when I went to Summit in July of 2015, so last summer, my eyes were really opened to what was actually possible with this. Because of course, I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of putting our upline or our upline's upline on a pedestal and thinking like, well, they got in early, or, they've been doing this longer. They know what they're doing, and I have no idea. So I had kind of done that with Liz for a little while. But then when I went to Summit, I realized that there was so many people out there that were making this a huge success, and not just ones that got it in the beginning. There's people that were huge successes that had been doing this for a year or even 6 months. I was seeing, I'm talking to a lot of coaches that were doing very well with this and well on their way to making it a full-time career. But more than that, I started to see like these people that had amazing transformation stories, both physically and emotionally and also financially. And just hearing them and seeing that they were actually real people really inspired me and made me start to think like, okay, maybe I'm not giving this enough credit. Like maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, and looking at this with the right vision and actually creating a plan, because it seems like if that person can do it, like why not me? Why not me? So I came back from Summit with this whole new fire lit. And at the time, you guys, like I was diamond, but it's because like my boyfriend's parents wanted to do it. So they were both coaches under him. So he was emerald. And like my mom signed up my dad and a friend of hers. So she was an emerald. So I had like my 2 emeralds and my discount coaches. So I didn't really have a team. I had a couple people that were dabbling, but for the most part, I was a very fresh diamond, and not really moving and booming in the business. But I came back and I thought, okay, like, this is so awesome. I'm feeling great. I'm meeting all these awesome people. Like, why am I not sharing this with more people for what it actually is? So what I did is I came back and I started talking about that. And I started to set goals for myself. So instead of just doing this and seeing how much money came in, I started, putting together a plan and saying, I'm going to use this to pay off my student loans. Because when I graduated from Northeastern University, I had 6 figures worth of student loans that I had to pay back. And I'm more than halfway done with that. But the end date on my loans right now is 2035. Like 2035. And that really was a tough pill for me to swallow when I thought, holy crap, you guys, I'm going to be like half done with my life by the time I pay off these freaking loans. I don't want to accept that. I'm not living my life that way. I need to do something about this. And I have it right in front of me. So I decided to kind of kick this into gear and start sharing more about the opportunity, start actually following up with people more intentionally and helping them to see this opportunity beyond just something that was a discount and beyond something that was just going to help them lose some weight and feel better. This is something that they could pay forward to other people too. So a lot of people, when I tell them, about that, they're kind of like, okay, all right, well, I'm doing that too. But I hang on. I just got sidetracked with my notes. So I came back from Summit, got all excited about that, and started kind of sharing this with other people and ended up going from Diamond to 5-star in 2 months. So, that was a pretty huge thing. Like everyone in corporate was like, what is happening? I had no idea. I was like, I'm just sharing this, like elite points and all that stuff didn't really make sense to me. Like I was just kind of, again, flipping the switch, getting serious about the fact that I wanted to share this with a certain amount of people each month. So in doing that, I was able to build my income and then leave my full-time job 6 months later. I left it in June of this year. So a lot of people will hear that and they go, okay, well, what did you do? Did you have specific systems? Did you run Facebook ads? Did you, recruit like crazy? Like, did you start signing up 40 coaches a month? And, what did you do? Did you have an assistant? But you guys, like, the answer is no. Like, and you're going to probably roll your eyes at this, but honestly, it was the 4 vital behaviors every single day. Like every day I was so consistent at that. And when I started treating this like a job, like I came back from Summit and started to say, okay, if I put more hours into this, because at the time I was just running my challenge groups and having fun with it. But if I actually dedicated 2 hours of my day, or sometimes more than that, to really be pouring into people and developing some trainings and things that I could give to my team, what could I accomplish? And that's what happened, in those last 6 months as we became an elite team. And it was possible. It's possible to do that in a short amount of time. You don't need to be, inviting everyone and their brother. You don't need to be knocking on doors or being that person in someone's newsfeed. You just need to be yourself, share your story, and teach other people to do that same thing. But I'm going to give you guys some tactical strategies because I know when you hear that, sometimes you're like, okay, 4 vital behaviors, thanks for nothing. Like we all hear that and it's like you want some actual concrete stuff. So a couple of things that I did. And I cannot emphasize this enough, you guys, and I'll tie it into what I kind of close this out with, is being a product of the product. And I don't mean that you have to have 6-pack abs or the best biceps on the block, but you have to be doing a program from start to finish. And I can tell you right now, as someone who's in between programs, because we're starting a Core to Force group officially on Monday, I'm in between programs and I can feel my business like kind of in like a lull. Because I'm not sharing anything openly. I'm not sharing the climb of what it means to go through a program from start to finish. So that's the best advice I can give you guys. If you have not done a program 100%, then do that. Like commit to doing that, because I can tell you right now, if you do that, your business will change, but you have to do it 100%. And maybe even like 80-20, you can give yourself some wiggle room. You don't have to be like a crazy person with the nutrition and everything and kill yourself if you have, an extra blue, but be realistic with this, but be committed. Don't let yourself slide. Don't let yourself slack and see what happens. And there's a delayed response in this business. And they talk about this a lot, but it's so true that if you do a program from start to finish, this month of November, you might not see those people come around until February or March. But if you can do that 100% now and continue to share that, the first person people are going to think of when New Year's comes around is you, because you've been showing up and you've been showing them what commitment looks like, and that's what they want to see in themselves. So I think that that's really, really important. That's number one. If that's something you have complete control over. Also, personal development. And as someone who was working full time, this was something that I was like, I don't have time for personal development, like really, but you do. It's a matter of fitting it into those little cracks. And it doesn't mean you need to be reading, 14 chapters a day. I think honestly, if you can read a couple pages a day of a book, that's really, really good. I think books are really I think that there's something to books rather than podcasts. Podcasts are kind of like little snippets, but if you can do podcasts, off and on, but really have a book that you're following, I think you're going to get a lot more out of that, just personal opinion. But podcasts, books I was going to say books on tape, but like audiobooks, things that you can listen to on plane rides, commutes, lunch breaks, that kind of stuff, you guys, that's the kind of sacrifice it takes. And you'd be amazed how much extra time you have in your day that maybe you're just not thinking about. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have some time for yourself, because I know there's some people that are like, well, I like to listen to music in my, in my car on the way to work, or I like to go take a walk on my lunch break. And I get it. Like that's okay. You need that time, but carve out 5 minutes of time to listen to a quick podcast on the way to work, or in the parking lot when you get there. If you get there a little early, park the car, listen to a podcast, then get inside. If you go for a walk on your lunch break, bring your earbuds and listen to a podcast while you're walking. Kind of get used to that multitasking. That's something I did, and it helped my business so much, mainly because I was working on what was going on up here. And when you're able to share that with other people in your conversations, in your posts, and with your coaches and with your team, I think that that's really, really invaluable, and it's something that I totally undervalued for a very long time. So if you're not doing personal development consistently and your business is not moving forward, I would absolutely make a point to start investing in that and investing in yourself. Posting. So for those of you that were like, I'm not a social media person, or if posting still scares you, guys, there's still times, I really don't give any F's about like posting anymore. Like sometimes I'm like, man, was that a total flop? Like whatever. But I don't get as nervous about it. But I can tell you the first post I put up like a little over 2 years ago, I got like a visceral reaction. And it was like it was literally a picture of my water. And I was like, what are people going to think? Like they're going to think it was water with fruit in it. All right. I was trying to tell people how to like spruce up their water, but I was like, oh my God, like people are gonna make fun of me. Like this is awful. Like I was like shaking. So I get it. If you're afraid of social media, I get it, but it gets easier the more consistent you are. And it's empowering to know that you can make an impact on people by simply sharing that value. So, you don't have to be flooding people's social media. Quite honestly, I coach my coaches to just start with 1 time a day, especially if you're new to social media. Because if all of a sudden you're popping up in people's newsfeed 2 to 3 times a day or 3 to 5 times a day like they tell you to do, people are going to start to see through that and go, okay, what's this person's motive? Like this is kind of, Kath, I apologize if you teach them otherwise, but like I honestly think it's overkill. Maybe you ramp up to that. Now I'll post sometimes 3 times a day and I don't think anything of it. But when I was first getting started, that thought was like, no, not happening. And I shut down initially, in 2012, when I first heard that that's what I had to do. It was like, no, thank you. Not my jam. But if you can do one thing a day that's going to help you stay accountable and add some value or positivity or brighten someone's day, then that's what you got to focus on. So 1 time a day. I ran challenge groups monthly, and I still have. I have had a group every single month since I started to actively coach, even when I didn't know I was coaching. Like even in July, I think my first one was like August. I was like, does anyone want to do the 21-day fix with me? Like I didn't really know that was a challenge group, but I was inviting people to do it with me. And it might've just been my mom and like one other friend, but still since that day, I've always run challenge groups. And it doesn't have to be a long 21-day or 30-day group. It can be a 3-day refresh group. It can be a 5-day jumpstart challenge, something that you've done, because then you always have something to invite to. You're consistent and your audience starts to trust you. They start to build that expectation and they go, okay, and they might be watching you and not commenting or liking, but I can't tell you how many people have come out of the woodwork and been like, okay, I've been seeing you post about these groups every single month. When is your next one? Do you have one in April, or do you have one in, what are we in November? Do you have one in December? I'll have people asking me about that. So, if you build that expectation with people, that builds trust, which again is going to be the last thing I talk about. But running challenge groups monthly has been so invaluable. And also because when you're building that consistency with your challengers, they might not want to be a coach right away. But if they're a challenger with you for 2, 3, 4 months, I can guarantee you that when you can follow up with them after that 4 months of building the relationship and building that trust and tell them about the discount again, even if they've shut you down the first couple times, now they get it. They get that like, okay, this is truly just a discount. You're not trying to twist my arm in anything or sell me some bag of goods that's a scam. I believe in it. But it has to boil down to that relationship and that consistency first. I talk about my vision train, and I'll explain what this is for those of you that may not know. And I talked about it a lot when I came back from Summit because I was so fired up about it. So I don't know how many of you guys have read the You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, but I think it was kind of like a viral thing. It went through most of the coaching community. But if you haven't read it, it's an amazing book. That was my first personal development book, and it definitely didn't make me feel like I was reading self-help. It made me laugh so hard that I had to actually not read it on the plane sometimes because I was like, I'm being obnoxious. But it's really good. And one of the quotes that she has in there is that there's nothing more unstoppable than a freight train full of F yeah. And it's not censored in the book. So if you're offended by swearing, then don't read it. But she says that. So once again, nothing more unstoppable than a freight train full of F yeah. And what that means is like your enthusiasm about where you're going, about this opportunity, about what you're doing with your life. It doesn't have to necessarily just be Beachbody, but that is contagious. Like people like to see someone on a mission, and they like to see someone with motivation, because motivation is sexy. Like people are like, oh my God, like I wish I could wake up at 4 a.m. and work out, but I can't. You know, like people are drawn to that. They're drawn to it. So if you can be that person that shows them what motivation looks like, shows them what drive looks like, and shows them what excitement about life looks like, people are inspired to embrace that and do it themselves. But you have to keep showing up. So for me, my freight train of F yeah at the time, when I only had like my mom and my boyfriend on my train, was getting my student loans paid off. I didn't know how the hell I was going to do it. I don't know who was going to be on my team, but all I knew is that I was going to get there, and whoever got on my train was going to get there too. And if that was their destination, then man, we were going to double time it. So that was like, you know, that was my thing. And I had so many people, and I need to get back to that now that I'm thinking about it. I haven't talked about my student loans much. I still have to pay them off. They're still chipping away at them. But you know, the people that joined my team at that time were all girls, mostly like me, same age, working in corporate, and wanting to pay off this massive lump sum of student loans. And it's amazing when you have people that have similar goals to you, and not saying everyone needs to have the same ones, but when your team aligns with your vision and can relate to those struggles and those challenges in life that you have outside of just weight loss, outside of just, you know, wanting to be healthier, then it becomes such a bigger picture that you're working towards. And it's so much more fun, because you can link arms. And like the amount of times I get like text messages from these girls saying like, doubled up on my loans this month, like, booyah, you know, like that makes me so excited, because I can relate to that feeling where you're like, yes, I am making progress, you know. And it's not always about the scale. It's not always about your shakes, you know, there's so much more to this, and you have to talk about that. So if you don't have the vision outside of just the results that you want to get, physically, then I encourage you to think about that, you know, over the weekend, and really kind of nail down that vision, maybe where you want to be in 6 months or a year from now, and start talking about that. I think that that's really inspiring, not just for you, but for other people. Follow-ups are huge. So I keep a running list. I pull my customer list, you know, often, and I'll go through and be like, haven't talked to any of these people recently, you know, because I think we're so concentrated on growth a lot of the time, and so concentrated on bringing new people in so we can grow our business. But our business isn't going to grow if we're not paying attention to the people that are there. So you have to make sure that you're giving attention to those people and focus on retention, because if those people are falling off, as a coach, it's your responsibility to pull them back in and to get their head back in the game and say, no, you signed up for this, you have goals, and I'm not going to let you fail. So I think that follow-up is really, really important and really crucial if you want to see residual income start to build, because people are going to take a little while to start believing in themselves. So you have to be that person to believe in them, at least for the first several months. I invested in my runners. So, you know, when I had these people that came on and wanted to pay off their student loans, I mean, my heart like exploded. I was like, yes, okay, like finally I have people that want to do this with me. They're willing to invest their time. So I give them my time. And I really believe in setting boundaries. But for those first couple months, like I knew what it was like to be a new coach and to be overwhelmed and to feel like there's just this endless pile of information to learn. So I wanted to do everything I could to simplify that process for them. And I will admit that maybe I was a little bit crazy, you know, the end of last year, but I started to see the possibility of what our team could accomplish. And I literally gave it everything I had in my free time. I worked the hell out of my full-time job, but during those off hours, guys, that's what it was all about, was helping them succeed and helping my challengers succeed. So invest in the people that invest in you. I held team calls actually from like day one. Like when I started, I was like, all right, we're running a challenge group, you know, to kind of go over like what we're doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing. But it was literally my mom and my one other coach, Jess. Like the three of us would get on a team call, and that lasted for probably the first 9 months. So if you guys are a new coach building a team and you feel like you have no team or there's crickets in your team page and you're talking to yourself, just keep talking, keep showing up. Don't give up. Even if it's like you show up for a team call and nobody shows up. Like I had that happen one time, and I did a power hour and I recorded it. All right, this is what I'm doing. Put it in the team page. Who knows if someone's going to see it or not, but like, guys, you have to show up, because if your team sees you showing up, eventually they're going to show up, or at least the ones that want it will be there. So you have to keep doing that and stop, you know, don't drop that belief in yourself. Okay. I attended events. So since that's, actually I went to a Super Saturday, like in 2014, which is kind of what got me like sparked again in the fitness piece of things. But I've been to every Super Saturday since then. And guys, I have to be honest, I'm not like, no offense, Kathy, but like, I don't love the Super Saturdays. Like, I'm not like, yes, this is so much fun. This is exactly how I want to spend my Saturday. But like, you know, because most of the information you hear everywhere else, then you hear it again. But like, I love the positivity and I love the feeling of being engaged in something. And that made me feel like this was real, because it's a real company. It's got a real mission. There's real people there. And that gave it some legitimacy for myself. And I think for my audience that I was posting to. I worked my spouse, well, he's my boyfriend, but I call him my spouse account. And he got really mad at me about Super Friday when I said, like, I work my spouse, but he's not my spouse. And he was like, way to put me on the spot. So anyways, it's my boyfriend's account and my mom's account. I do work both of theirs, not aggressively, but that's kind of how I started to build my team. And then I have a second business center that I opened at the beginning of this year, and I work that as well. So, you know, those are kind of long-term strategies. But if you have a spouse, I highly encourage you to sign them up. Highly, highly encourage you to do that. Even if it's not an active account, buy that little plot of land in your organization and work it later. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure Kathy or Nick can help you with that. So those are my tactical strategies. And then I have a couple just little things I wanted to mention here at the end. I know I'm kind of going long here, but really, you guys, the magic ingredient of this, because people are always like, what's the silver bullet, the secret sauce, is belief. Like the first 100 days of my journey, if you want to call it that, you know, starting in July 2014, was really just my belief in myself that I needed to reestablish, that I could get through a program and that I could actually make changes in my life, you know, for myself. It wasn't for any other reason. It wasn't for other people. So this is a business where honestly, you have to be a little bit selfish initially. I truly believe that. It's all about giving and giving to other people, but you cannot give to other people until you give to yourself. So you have to make sure you're filling up your cup first, building that belief in yourself, building that foundation of confidence. So that way, when you're giving it to other people, it's actually coming from a genuine place of, I know how it feels to have to build that. And I'm going to help you build it because I've done it myself. So you have to really, you know, kind of tap into that. And, you know, I think that there's a couple different levels of belief. There's belief in the products, which you can get from doing a program 100%. Because, guys, these products and programs work. They work, but you have to do the work. So, you know, you make sure that you're giving that a chance to help you, like, build that confidence in the fact that whatever you recommend to someone is going to give them the results that they want if they put in the work. That is the varying factor. But the products. Second level of belief is yourself. And that's going to be done by doing the program 100%. And then you start to develop belief in what you can accomplish. I think when you accomplish that goal, you know, when you start to chip away at those goals, you do a program 100%, you start to kind of see the light. Like you start to say, like, okay, like I can do hard things. Like, what else am I capable of? Bring it, you know, like your goals start to get bigger and more attainable seeming. But that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen without, you know, putting that work in first. And then when you're doing that, I think you really start to develop a level of belief in others. You start to realize that other people can accomplish things too, and your team can accomplish crazy things because you start to believe in other people before they believe in themselves. But if you can help them flip that switch, then that momentum and that freight train, you guys, really starts to get going, and that's when it gets exciting. So I have just a couple like gut checks that I give people. And this is, you know, for my team and for myself included, because a lot of the time you might be thinking, okay, I'm doing all of these things, all those tactical strategies, product to the product, sharing, you know, being authentic, all those things. Like, I do all of that. So why am I not moving forward? You know, why does my team seem like it's stuck? And a lot of the time, and I'm not saying that you guys aren't trustworthy, but a lot of the time it's a trust thing. And I think that people are guarded, naturally guarded. You know, and they always think someone's out to like get them and like that there's something fishy about things. So you have to kind of be willing to give people the grace to not trust you initially. And it's up to you to build that trust. And there's a couple ways you can do that. And they talked about this at the Beachbody Leadership Conference back in October. And I really thought that this was an amazing seminar. It was given to us by Stephen Covey, who's the CEO of Franklin Covey. And he had these little flashcards and stuff. I loved them. But just kind of summarizing a few of the key points, he said, you know, building trust starts with building self-trust. So it's kind of like the self-belief concept, but that starts with upholding commitments to yourself. So if you say you're going to do a power hour every day and you say you're going to do a program 100%, then you better freaking do it. Because if you don't, and if you quit on yourself, you quit on that program, then what that's indicating to other people, even if it's not a public message, but there's a subliminal message that you are going to quit on them. So if people don't see you showing up, they see you kind of wishy-washy with this, and if you're not consistent, what that indicates to them is that if you can't be consistent, then they're not going to be consistent, or you're not going to be consistent in holding them accountable. So that's really on you to build that, expectation with them, because they're seeing you every single day. They're seeing that you are determined and you're someone that can lead by example. So you have to start with self-trust. And then, are you confident in what you have to offer? So this goes back to the belief thing, because people can sense when you're talking to them about something and you have doubt, and this was another analogy that he made, or I guess it was analogy was the term you could use, but that trust equals confidence, and confidence is the opposite of suspicion. So when you have confidence in what you're saying, you have confidence in the fact that these programs and these products can truly change someone's life. Like, when you have that confidence, people trust you. But if you don't have the confidence, if you're kind of like, well, yeah, it's good, but and you get like weird about it because you're not confident in it, people get suspicious because it doesn't seem genuine. So you have to really work on that confidence piece, and that comes from building that belief. And do you instill belief in others? So, are you truly like confident in that this can change someone's life, and helping them to believe that? And that's done by guiding them through the programs, taking them through a challenge group, helping them instill that belief in themselves and in these products and programs as well. And then lastly, are you being transparent? And I think this really boils down to, are you being the person that you're portraying on social media? Are you being the person that you're portraying in the public eye, or when in your conversations? Are you that person behind closed doors? Because I think that that's so important, and it's important to share the struggles and the not so good times too. I talk to my team a lot about talking to the person that you were before Beachbody, and kind of going back to that place, because your goal as a coach is to help, the person, the Courtney Bordeaux from however many years ago when she started, like, her goal is to help that girl that she was. So you have to go back to that place, and you have to be honest about where you were and the struggles you've encountered along the way, because we all know it is not an easy journey. We all know that there's bumps in the road. And if you don't talk about those bumps, then people don't think you're real. So you got to own those. And obviously, hopefully there's more smooth rides than there are bumps along the road, but like, you got to be okay with owning those, but talk about how you're overcoming them. Don't just talk about how you're stuck and how it's a nasty day and I'm grumpy. Like, what are you doing to change that? Because people need to see solutions. They need to see that there is a way out of that, and you're the one that's going to carry the torch out of it. So I really think that that's important, to be transparent through that journey, be, honest and authentic with who you were prior to this, and make sure that you're seeking mutual benefit. And this was something, that was really a gut check for me, thinking, okay, am I fully transparent with my team and with my coaches that this isn't about me? This isn't about my income or me growing my business. This is about me helping them. And if that leads to me growing my business, then great. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want to do this business, I got to support them anyways. I got to support them in their personal goals, and know that like someone else is going to come along that needs this in their life, and I can help them with that. But right now my job is to meet that person where they are. And are you upholding your promises to yourself and to other people? And I think when you're transparent about that, and when you follow through and don't promise the world, guys, I'm so guilty of this. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'll overpromise and then I underdeliver because I want to do all this. It's well-intentioned, but you have to know your bandwidth too. So if you can only make one promise per week and you uphold that promise, then that's a win. But don't make 10 promises if you can only uphold 2 or 3, okay? All right, last thing is gut check number 2. So this is one that I was like, oh man, like kind of cutting hardcore here, but is if the comp plan didn't exist, would you still be a coach? Would you still do this? Or maybe not be a coach, but would you still do your programs? Would you still press play? Would you still blend up that shake every day? And that is something you have to get real with yourself, you guys. Like, if you're like, oh no, then you might need to work on the belief, and if you don't believe in it, then don't waste your time, because that's not going to get you anywhere if you're representing something you don't believe in. And I think that that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but I tell my coaches, if this isn't for you, that's okay. It's not for everyone. But at the end of the day, like, I know that this has changed my life so much that like I need it. Like if they called me and told me like Beachbody programs and Shakeology were ending tomorrow, I would probably go into a bigger panic than the panic I felt over the last 48 hours over what's happening on social media and all the people fighting, okay, maybe that's an overstatement. I probably would not panic more, but still I would be pretty panicked. So you gotta really face the fact of like, this business needs to be foundation first on what it's done for you in your life, and then the business. And then, this is kind of a parallel that I want to make, because at the beginning or interim of this subject, I talked about how you call this your real job, or your full-time job, your real job. And if you think about that, like if your real job was ended tomorrow, if you were laid off tomorrow, your life would probably be pretty changed. So I think that, for me, that's why I think of this as a real job now, because if this was ended tomorrow, if I was told I couldn't be, part of Beachbody, if I couldn't press play or have Shakeology anymore, like my life would be drastically different. So for me, this is a real job, and it's a job that I have real passion and real heart in. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in that place right now, right this second, but eventually you'll get there if you start with these concepts of, belief and building confidence, and truly having, the intention of building trust with your audience and best intentions for them. Anyways, I think that was it. I was a little scrambled there at the end.
It's so funny. No, that was amazing, Meredith. Thank you so much. Seriously, like,
you're welcome. I went a little bit longer than I meant to.
That's fine. I mean, we usually go for a good 45 minutes to sometimes an hour, and sometimes even longer, depending on who's on. So it was awesome. And I just feel like so many people can relate to you and your journey. And when I heard you talk at Super Saturday, I'm like, she just needs to talk to my team, because like so many people on the team, have like their full-time jobs, like I said. And I feel like it is that belief thing. They don't, I just know they don't truly believe that this can be more, and that they can actually get there with Beachbody. And, just to kind of recap, I was taking notes, guys, on some of the things that really stood out in her call tonight. And the main thing, and, this is like my jam anyways, was belief. And she got that belief by what? By going to Summit, which was like her aha moment, which is another reason why we say like getting to these events is so important, because, you're sitting behind your desk every single night, or wherever you are behind your computer working, you don't see the whole picture of really what this can do, for your life, and how this can help you, and how it can change you and lead to more personal growth, and how you can help other people. It's not until you get until that event, the biggest event of the entire year, where you really and truly see, oh, now I get it. And that's when she was there, where she realized, you know what, these people are doing it, damn it, I'm going to do it too, right? Like, why not?
Well, and I think, just to kind of elaborate on that, like the whole year prior, and like doing the programs and becoming like a home workout junkie, like that was like, what? Who am I? Like, I grew up with a mom that would do like home workouts in her little leotard and her leg warmers and stuff. So, and I was always like, oh my God, like I'm never going to be that person. And here I am, that person, like tons of leg warmers. But like, so I never thought that was going to be my thing. But then I fell in love with them, and then doing it for that whole year. So I already had the belief in the products and the belief in myself. Cause like when I did Insanity Max 30, I was I was like, I feel so badass right now. Like that was like the hardest freaking thing I've ever done in my life. And I did it, and I felt so good after that. So like, I knew it was in me, like to take control of myself. But in terms of the business, like that didn't really, like that level of belief wasn't really reached until I got there and saw people just like me. Because up until that point, I had just seen all these coaches that had been doing it for like a long time. And I was like, okay, sure. They just got lucky. But then when I started to see all of these people, I was like, wait a minute. Like maybe I'm just giving this my full effort. And I think that that's so key. And when you're working full time, it's hard. I am not going to lie. Like it is hard. I get it. I see Jessie nodding her head. Like we've talked about this. Like, I mean, especially if you work full time and you have a family, like, I mean, I can only imagine. But I think it's really about finding those little cracks and crevices that you can fit this into and being efficient. If it means sitting down on a Saturday for 4 hours or 5 hours and developing, your Coach Basics training or something, like get it done and just like that, then you don't have to worry about it. Schedule out the posts, have them done. Like the more you can automate things for yourself, the better. But don't automate your journey. Like that's the one thing. If you can do that in real time and do that authentically, then you'll be golden. But I think the rest of it, just don't overcomplicate it. And I think we all have a tendency to do that when we see other coaches and we think we got to be doing what they're doing. And, you play the comparison game, and I'm so guilty of that too. So do your best to keep your blinders on and just do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep things simple, and just taking that ownership over your business is so important too. And, it's just, back to that belief. I mean, it really is, and it sounds so crazy, but I know that the coaches who are building successful businesses or who do build successful businesses, it is literally, I truly believe it is like 95% belief in the business and in yourself, followed up with daily intentional action. Like, it's going to be both those things. Like, if one is missing, it doesn't happen. Like, you could have all the belief in the world, but if you're not doing the right things every day, like when you sit down to work, if you're just doing like stuff to kind of make yourself seem like you're working, but you're not really doing those main vital behaviors that she went over, the PD, the proof, you're being proof the product works, you're in a program, then it won't happen. You'll have that plateau there, and nothing will seem to grow, right?
Yeah.
So
I think one thing too that I want to add, Kat, that I think was really crucial in kind of building my momentum last year, was enthusiasm. Because sometimes when you're like, okay, I got this belief sort of, but like, what are you supposed to post about, right? Like, I believe, like, we're like, what? Like, okay, what is this chick talking about? Like, how much can you talk about that? But I think it's really like enthusiasm about what you're doing. So if you're like pumped about your workouts, you're pumped about the fact that you got up early and got it done, you share something positive from your personal development, but also celebrating like non-scale victories and like every little milestone. Like, I would send just handwritten notes to my coaches sometimes. Like, it costs like, I'd go to like TJ Maxx and get, or Home Goods and get something for like $3.99, deck of cards, write out cards and like send them to my coaches. But I would take a picture of that, like, sending cards to my coaches, and like sending cards to all my rock stars. Like, maybe they didn't do anything that week, but like, I'm still thanking them for like drinking their shake and like doing their workout, because to me that constitutes someone who's rocking it. So like doing that and posting that makes people realize like, okay, you're doing something and it's not just you on this little island, or maybe it's your challengers. Maybe you don't have a team yet, celebrate your challengers. Even if it's 2 people, send them something, take a picture of that and celebrate them. Because I think when you have that enthusiasm and you have those little things like to celebrate, like you don't have to get to diamond rank or 2-star diamond or Success Club All-Star to be celebrating things. Like, you can celebrate the fact that you got Success Club 2 because that means you helped one person, so find the joy in these little things, because when you do that, I think you start to build that confidence because you're happy. Hopefully you're having a good time. I think if you're not finding joy in this opportunity, then you got to check yourself and realize that what we're doing is pretty freaking awesome, and find the time that you do have fun in this opportunity. What do you do in this opportunity that gives you joy, that makes you happy? Because if you can hold on to that and focus more in that place, then I think you'll be good. That's where you got to live for a while. Like, for me, it was the challengers. It was seeing people get results, having them like tell me that they're feeling better and they like to be in pictures again and they're excited for a date night again for the first time in like 2 years. Like, that's the kind of stuff that made my heart like do cartwheels. So like, that's where I lived for a year because it was so fun, so find that place and get there, because I think that's going to take you a lot farther than trying to like put so much pressure on yourself to like sign coaches and train them. And if that stresses you out, then like chill on that for a little bit and go back to the place where you're happy and where you're having fun, because people don't quit when they're having fun, and people don't, like we all, I think most of us have, hopefully there's some people that love their job out there, but I think a lot of people like, you have a job that stresses you out, and that is not always rainbows and sunshine. So if you have some control over one that can be some rainbows and sunshine, then freaking live there,
I know. And that's why I think, honestly, like just going back to like working on yourself and being in a program again, like, we all started with the team. Like, we had like our coach group that just kicked off this past Monday. And especially for the coaches who have been coaching now for a while, who've been kind of just not involved in really a program. Like, I was guilty of it too for a good 4 or 5 months, just kind of letting life get in the way. Your business, like you mentioned too, Meredith, like is just kind of like, it's like, like I always notice that whenever I complete a program from start to finish and I'm sharing my journey and I'm not like BSing it, it's just like legit, not like BSing it, but I'm in, my business booms. And so this is going to be awesome, guys. Awesome timing for us. Just get back to working on ourselves, like all in. I don't care that Thanksgiving and all these other things are happening. Like, we're all in, we're sharing it. And then it's so true, because once January comes, people come to you. They've been watching you. If you've been consistent with posting on social media, that's the key, is you have to be posting on social media about it.
Yeah. And even little plug that I was talking to my success partner about earlier this week is the LEAD program. So guys, if you're an Emerald coach and you hit Success Club in December, the LEAD program explodes in January.
Oh
Because
yeah.
so many people are like, I need to get in shape. And then they like go and buy something, they don't have a coach. So you can get, awesome leads and really work with some people that are super motivated. Cause I think we've all probably fell victim to the, oh, I got a free lead. And then they never respond. Whereas sometimes in January, at least it's people that are like, yes, I would love the help. I'll take meal plans, like whatever you got for me. People are excited and motivated. So take advantage of that and be that person that, people wish they could be sometimes during this time of year. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
The more consistent you can try to be and the effort you can put forth is really going to shine, and people are going to, be inspired by you.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, if you can just try, like, every person that you get signed up to just be the best coach possible for them and really help them get their goals and make sure they find the recipe they like for Shakeology, make sure they're doing okay with the meal plan and keeping them on track, then too, they're more likely to stick it out, but then also they're more likely to refer people to you because you've done such a great job as a coach.
Yeah.
I just have a question to somebody else. Oh, you feel like I've been kidnapped. I know. Yes, I know. Well, my house is for sale.
Oh my God, Kat, what's going on with that?
Oh yeah, so my house is for sale in Uxbridge, out in Massachusetts by Worcester. And so we've left the house and now I'm just staying at my parents' house while we're trying to sell it. So this is where I am now. In the basement. It's all right.
It looks cozy.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, how many hours would you work at night on Beachbody when you had your full-time job?
It's a good question. So it depends. Cause when I was like working full-time doing the challenge groups, I probably wasn't like working too many hours. I'd say probably an hour or two each night. But that was just maintaining my challenge groups really. But what got kind of crazy there was like, I was taking on a lot of challenges. I'd have some months where I was hitting like Success Club 30 and above because it was like, all these challengers, it was like my thing. But then, so those were like during challenge group periods. I remember there were times where I'd get home from like business dinners at like 8 p.m. and I probably wouldn't go to bed until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'd be up by 6, to get back to meetings. So, there was nights where I was getting 4 hours of sleep, or less, which I'm sure to some moms, they're probably like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like 4 hours of sleep is plenty. But for me, like I'm someone that typically needs a little more than that. But I would say, on average, when I really started to get serious about it last year and was going like balls to the wall towards the end of the year, I was probably working at least 4 hours a night on this. And then I'd wake up in the morning and do at least an hour in the morning. So I'd say about 5 hours a day minimum. And I was working a lot on the weekends. And a lot of that was conversations. And like I said, I was pouring into like my builders. So a lot of it was like strategizing with them, talking with them, like helping them with their posts. So a lot of the time they were sending me their posts and then I would like rewrite it for them. Like, and kind of just be like, I would tweak this and I would add white space here and an emoji there. So I felt like I was like an English teacher, helping them with their posting game. But I think that that's crucial because a lot of the time that's the hardest thing for people when they're getting started. But if you're hearing that and you're going, that is unrealistic. I want you to put it in perspective that like, that's when I got the itch all of a sudden. And I was like, I want to be an elite coach. So I realized that I had to really like kick it in. So if you're doing 2 or 3 hours a day, I think that is more than enough to get done what you need to get done.
And you were able to, you were a 6-figure income earner too, right? By doing all that after
combining my Chris and my second.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So, guys, anything is possible. And obviously the more time that you spend on it, like the faster you're going to grow, the faster you can see your income grow. If you're just doing an hour a day, you'll get there. It's just going to take you longer. Right. So, yeah, I think we had a question here. Oh, Jesse.
Me.
Hi. Yeah. Hi.
I listen to you speak all the time.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm so scattered. This week I've been like all over the place. Like, but thank you.
You're welcome. So my question actually is, I had posted the, woohoo, got a goal thing with a picture of me speaking at Summit. Yeah. And I decided to make it into an ad. I now have a list of over 300 people that have liked it.
That's awesome.
Which is great. But so some of the advice I had received from somebody else was, obviously thank them and blah, blah, because you want to be always thanking people.
Yeah.
And then, are you on a health and fitness journey too? But do you and Kathy feel like that's too forward, not forward enough? Because I have 300 opportunities to build relationships. I don't want to screw them all up.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can. that whole phrase, you can say the wrong thing to the right person or the right thing to the wrong person. You know, like I think if the person's interested, it's not like one message is going to turn them off unless you're like, hey, want to buy a challenge pack? That might ruin it. But even then, if it's a person that's like, yes, is that going to lead me to the opportunity to speak on stage like you because you inspire me? Like that might still work. So, you know, I think, you know, don't go into it with that mindset, at least in my opinion. I would say, what was your intention of the post? Was it just like was there a call to action?
Was there a call? I don't even remember now.
Like, was it like, you know?
Yeah, like if you're sick of, you know, something like if you really want to change your life and blah, 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 one of those. I mean, I did it, what was that, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? It feels like it was
is it on your like page?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on my business page.
I was going to say that has to be on the like page to be an ad, but I'll have to check it out and take a look at it because that's awesome. But yeah, I would say like, you know, hey, thanks so much for the support. This has been an ongoing journey, you know, and I appreciate it. Do you mind if I ask you, you know, did you have interest in making, you know, a similar career change or a similar, you know, pursuing a similar endeavor? Something like that. Kind of whatever. Have you ever done anything like this before? You know, something that kind of relates back to the post. But I always ask for permission. Like, do you mind if I ask? Blah, blah, blah. Because most people will respond accordingly. I don't know, Kath, if you feel any way about that.
Yeah, I would probably approach it like the exact same way too. I mean, another thing too is you could start out by just, I just have always felt this way. I don't know what it is. Just because I brought in, I don't know how many active coaches in the past, like over 2 years. I think it's like seriously, it's some astronomical number, but I've noticed the ones who come in who originally, like we talked about at leadership, come in and work on themselves. Sorry, excuse me. And get results, go on to be better active coaches versus like when I try to get people to just be active coaches right out of the gate, I don't know. They just don't stick it because I don't know. So I think I would probably message like all of them and I would just start out by just saying like, hey, thanks so much for showing my post support. It means so much to me. You know, I'm always running health and accountability support groups online. So if you're ever looking for any kind of extra support, let me know. We have free groups. We have 21-day groups, 30-day groups, whatever. But they're a ton of fun. So just thanks again. I really appreciate it. Like that type of thing. And try to get them like into like a health and fitness group first. You know, and then like if they write back, you know, then you could just start to ask them like just certain questions about, you know, are you happy with like your job? Like, would you ever have interest in hearing more about what I do as a coach and about this business? And then from there, you know, plugging them into the blitz that we have on the 20th. So that would be a good way to like approach all of them, is to ask them if they're interested in hearing more about it too. That's another path you could go, you know?
Thank you.
Well, one of the things too, Jesse, just kind of like piggybacking on what Kathy said is, one of the things I do with my new coaches is like their number one job. And I tell them, like, I try to keep my like GSR calls and like initial intros with them pretty simple. Cause I used to like, I had the tendency to like information dump and then people are like, oh my God, it's too much. And it's like the basics. Like for us, it's like Success Club, Emerald, like, you know, Coach FAQ, like those simple things that like for us seems really straightforward. But for someone brand new, it's basically like teaching them chapters 1 through 5 of a Spanish textbook and being like, there you go, it's simple. You know, so it's kind of like you have to think of it as like, this is a new language for them. You got to break it down. So a lot of the time what I'll tell them is like, your number one job in the first month is to do a program and get results. Like that's what you got to do. That's almost like your rite of passage to then be a coach. So, so if you were to approach it with a direct message that's like, you know, hey, thank you so much for the support. Do you mind if I ask if you're on a health and fitness journey? You know, the way you had said that, or do you mind if I ask if you're interested in an endeavor like this? Like if someone says yes, then I would kind of ask them like, what about this interests them? You know, kind of go through that process. Like, can I ask, you know, what do you do now? What are you interested about in this opportunity? And if they're like, oh, well, I need another job, I need more income, then I would be like, okay, well, your first thing is going to be to do a program and get results. You know, I can teach you how to refer people, but you have to do that first. So then kind of like kind of focus. Yeah, exactly. Adjusting the sales. So they kind of go back to start, you know, and then you can kind of steer them towards the business opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Anything else, guys? Any last minute questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Meredith. You're an amazing leader.
Thank you so much. So are you. You guys are so lucky to have Kathy as a leader. She's amazing, and I've looked up to her for
oh God, please.
As long as I can remember. I remember coming in and being like, who's this Kathy? Well, Coach Kathy.
Who is this girl? She's nuts.
She rocks. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
I hope you got something out of it, and I wish you all luck in ending the year strong, both personally and in your businesses.
Yeah, you too. And I'll see you Saturday.
Yes. Oh yeah. I will. I don't know if the team knows that we're coming or not, so I'm trying to
knows. So don't say anything.
Don't say anything to Aspire Nation, but
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thanks, Kristen.
All right. Thanks so much, Meredith. Have a good night, guys. Bye, everyone.